key to any endeavour. It is important that the Project Management Office, the Programme Board, ETBI and individual ETBs have effective communication channels through which problems and successes can both be shared and solved. To that end, a communications plan has been developed, and we will ensure everyone in the sector is regularly briefed on progress. Today is an important part of this communications process. So are the regular meetings between senior officials in the department, chief executives of ETBs and the General Secretary of ETBI. I expect before the end of the year to visit a number of ETBs and ETBIs at its headquarters here in Naas. I have recently confirmed that I will be visiting the Galway Roscommon Education and Training Board on Thursday the 17th of October and Cork Education and Training Board on Friday the 22nd of November. I have previously made clear my intention to visit each of the new ETBs over the coming months, and that remains my firm intention. These visits will provide a further opportunity to continue our conversation around the important work that ETBs do and the strategic direction of the sector. I understand that some ETBs, particularly those which have resulted from the merger of 3 former VECs, will have boards with significant numbers of members for a limited period of time. Large boards such as these can present challenges and can be seriously misrepresented by the press and the media. However, I believe to ease the transitional process from VECs to ETBs, it was vital that existing members of the VECs automatically became members of the new education and training boards. They will continue in office, as you know, until the next local elections in May of 2014. After these local elections, each ETB will comprise 21 members, structured in the following way. There will be 12 local authority representatives. There will be 2 staff representatives, 2 parents representatives, and 5 community representatives. We have worked to ensure that there will be a balance of members from each of the counties included in the ETB. The 5 community representatives will be elected by the local authority members, the staff and parent members, at least one of whom represents employers or business, at least one of whom represents learners, and at least one of whom represents school management or leadership. As an example of how this will operate, the nominating bodies for employers, for example, IBEC, ISME and Chambers, will each be asked in each of the 16 areas to nominate both a man and a woman. So the 12 or the 14 electing councillors and other representatives will be placed, not unlike the Senate elections, with a panel. And the panel then will, by secret ballot I presume, will result in a person emerging for that category, also for representatives of learners and also for representatives of the wider education interests. And I've already had some informal consultation with potential representative bodies in this area. These changes, I believe, will ensure that smaller counties are adequately represented. It will ensure that the importance of ensuring equity across all education and training boards is respected, that there's an appropriate balance between local authority members and community representatives, and most importantly, that the membership of the new boards is big enough to allow stakeholders' voices to be heard, but at the same time small enough to be effective. This new structured form of representation will ensure a more inclusive engagement with all education providers in the area of the ETB. Thank you. Let me turn now to further education and training. The many challenges presented by the current economic and unemployment crisis require a positive, concerted and coherent response from all interested parties. While there are clear implications for our school system, of which the ETBs are a critical part, today I want to focus on the further education and training sector, and I think, Noel, you devoted quite a bit of time yourself to the same area, so we are at item on this. As Noel has already said, this is a rapidly changing sector, really rapidly changing sector. It's changing in such a way that government, training and education providers, employers and job seekers must all work together, domestically and internationally, locally and regionally, to meet the pressing challenges head-on. An example of the cooperation which is required was set out in guidelines for aligning further education provision with the skill needs of enterprise, which was issued by the Department in 2012 and updated in 2013. The guidelines were designed to respond to current and future skill needs in the economy and are based on Forfos and FOSS research. Steps which can be taken by ETBs to progress this vital area of work include the following: ongoing close cooperation with local enterprise and existing public employment services in the development of relevant local courses, and enhancing the workplace learning element of programme provision. It is important to emphasise that getting the sector to work for Ireland's future doesn't mean that it will be exclusively focused on what training for immediate employment is required. You are working to forge an integrated further education and training sector, one that can cater for our diverse range of learners. Different responses are required for school leavers, the unemployed, and those in employment looking to enhance their existing skills. Different responses are required for those with deficits in core skills against those who are much closer to being employment ready. However, all of our offerings need to be well integrated, responsive, flexible, and also effective. Our knowledge, happily, of what is now required has both deepened and broadened. There are now a multiplicity of sources of good quality information, both national and international. They tell us that, firstly, the jobs of tomorrow are going to need higher levels of skills than the jobs of today, and that, secondly, upskilling is required as much, if not more, in the core and generic skills area as it is in the specialised and technical skills sector. We also know that people who have developed better core and generic skills, literacy, numeracy, communication, ICT, and also teamworking, do better in work and are better able to engage with specialised and technical skills courses. This points all the more to the need for an integrated further education and training sector, one that can seamlessly offer learners a range of modules in a range of disciplines to meet both the needs of learners and also the needs of our society and its economy. Let me turn now to the matter of SOLAS. The creation of SOLAS will facilitate a coherent, integrated, strategic national response across the further education and training sectors. As you know, the legislation was passed in the Dáil before the summer recess. The government yesterday agreed to the nomination of Pat Delaney as chairperson designate of the Board of SOLAS. As a former staff member of IBEC and director of the Small Firms Association, Pat will have a strong ability to ensure that the further education and training sector becomes increasingly aligned with the needs of industry. I spent a lot of time deliberation on the kind of person that I wanted for this post. I've worked with Pat in the past. He started work in the CII many years ago and has come right up through the ranks. And the reason why I nominated him and got the acceptance of Taoiseach An Tánaiste was because I think he has the personality and the experience and the proximity to the small business sector, which most critically of all needs your help and support. And I think he's going to do a very good job. The SOLAS mandate will be to ensure the provision of 21st century high quality further education and training programmes to job seekers and other learners. These programmes will be excellent value for money and will be responsive to the needs of learners and the requirements of a changed and changing economy. The creation of SOLAS, as you know, is part of a wider range of government reforms in the areas of further education and training and the activation of the unemployed. The implementation of this wider reform process will prove extremely challenging. This will require a dedication of purpose and a well-planned programme of change. A theme running through these initiatives is the link between industry and training provision, to ensure the continued alignment of programmes with the evolving skill needs of the economy. I really want to repeat that because I think critically this is most important, and you are key players in this sector. The theme is the link between industry and training provision to ensure the continued alignment of programmes with the evolving skill needs of the economy. When we come out of the place we're in at the moment and next year regain our economic sovereignty, it will not be going back to business as usual. It will not be going back to business as usual. Sean Lemass famously said that the world does not owe Ireland a living. We have to earn it. And we won't earn it by buying and selling houses to each other. I think we know that. So when we do regain our economic sovereignty, we will earn our living, and our children and our grandchildren, through how smart they are and how clever they are, by liberating their talents and skills, and by convincing people in other parts of the world to buy our products at a price that they can afford and which will enable us to make a profit. The expert group on future skills needs advises the Irish government on current and future skills and the needs of those skills in the economy and on other labour market issues that impact on Ireland's enterprise and employment growth. It has a central role in ensuring that labour market needs for skilled workers are both anticipated and met. The FÁS Skills and Labour Market Research Unit provides the group with data, analysis and research and manages the National Skills Database. The Action Plan for Jobs contained a commitment to initiate a review of the Irish apprenticeship training model. The aim of this review is to provide, and you referred quite considerably to it, Noel, and I agree with your observations. The aim of this review is to provide an updated model of training that delivers the necessary skilled workforce to service the needs of a rapidly changing economy and also ensures an appropriate balance between supply and demand. That balance got out of kilter in the last decade. I think we all know that. So it does need to ensure that there's an appropriate balance between supply and demand. This review is currently underway in the department and has been undertaken in two phases. The first phase was the preparation of a background issues paper. This paper provides a factual description of the current system, including the governance arrangements, trends and forecasts in relation to recruitment, and identified strengths and weaknesses in our current model. It also identifies the range of possible options for change, as well as information on models of apprenticeship in other countries. Phase 2 of this review was announced on the 19th of May, with the appointment of an independent steering group to progress a review of apprenticeship in Ireland through consultation with relevant stakeholders. The group will produce recommendations to the department based on that consultation process with relevant interest groups and also members of the public. Membership of the review group, led by Labour Court Chairperson Kevin Duffy, draws on national and international expertise, including academic, business and employee interests. I have to declare an interest here. I've known Kevin Duffy for many years. He started life as a bricklayer, as an apprentice. He's come right through the system and he knows it very, very well, and he has a passionate interest and commitment to getting it right, and he has a wide experience, having been on the board of ANCO and subsequently in FÁS, and I'm delighted that he was able to accept my invitation to chair the body. I expect their work to be complete by the end of this year. The review will be cognizant of existing education and training policy, and in particular national targets relating to second-level education and participation in higher education. It will focus on apprenticeship as a progression route from second-level provision. It will also explore the potential for connections between work-based learning and other further education and training provision. And I think, Noel, you've spoken very eloquently about the need to cater for that fact and to recognise the necessity of its provision. One of the primary reasons for all of these initiatives is, of course, to help us continue tackling unemployment, which continues to blight our nation. A new integrated employment and support service called Intreo has been introduced, which has been managed by the Department of Social Protection. The service and supports involved were previously provided by 3 distinct and separate state services. The integration of these supports has facilitated the development of a coordinated structure which provides unemployed people, particularly the long-term unemployed, with options and assistance in finding jobs or referrals to appropriate education and training. Effective local working arrangements between Intreo and the ETBs will be critical to delivering for the unemployed. As I mentioned already, management and ETBs will need to develop strong links with our counterparts in Intreo, in the Department of Public Service. That will allow us to ensure education and training opportunities are closely aligned with the needs of the unemployed in each area, and also to ensure that good and up-to-date advice is available and that systems ensure that each placement is the right one for the learner involved. This, I believe, is an exciting time to be involved in further education and training in Ireland. There is a real opportunity to build on and integrate the range of provision developed over time by the VECs and to shape a strong and coherent sector. Individual ETBs will be working hard to bring together the offerings of VECs and training centres, but you also all need to work closely together. Solace